Pardon me.
Well, of course, the issue in the Korean peninsula is very interesting. Professor, you have been studying this intensely. Oh, we seem to have had an interruption. Sorry, your parents do seem to have come in and slightly interrupted. Joining us now on Dash into the Limelight is Professor Robert Kelly.
Professor Kelly, you are actually sitting in a very famous room right now. Can you tell us what happened in that room?
I was on BBC, and I was talking about the impeachment of the South Korean president at the time, and my kids came in while I was on live television. Well, my door, the old door, didn't have an appropriate lock. It didn't work particularly well. So my kids just kind of like opened it and just like snuck right in, and they were like dancing and everything, and it was all terribly cute. I got really lucky. It turned out to be so funny that I actually didn't get like fired by the BBC. If it hadn't been so completely ridiculous, I probably would never have been called again. But it came off so adorable, I actually got kind of lucky. I probably should have been fired, but...
Let's rewind a little bit, because this happened before coronavirus, before Zoom was a thing. And of course, in a sense, you're the first person ever to have a Zoom mess up.
But yeah, that's true. I've heard people, a lot of people have written that to me. Whenever these kinds of things happen, whenever somebody goes on TV and like their cat crawls in and like jumps on their shoulder or something, on Twitter, people flag me like, oh, I just had a Robert Kelly moment. I'm some strange authority and like Zoom failures or something.
You're a very, very serious expert in your field, which is why you're invited to the BBC. Does it upset you that you're probably likely to be remembered for your kids more than your professorship and your knowledge?
That's actually a really good question. A little bit. I mean, there's sometimes when I go to conferences and I get introduced as like the BBC guy. I'm like,
you speak 4 languages, Robert, but you're going to be remembered for your kids busting through your door while doing an interview.
And most people are interested in the video for good reasons, right? I mean, they send me emails, say, oh, your kids are so lovely and they're so cute. So I try to take it in stride. Right, you know, you don't want to be sort of immodest about these things, and so it's. I mean, it's okay. It's a little weird. I mean, it is. I mean, I get students who take my classes because they saw the video. I mean, I've had that happen. It's kind of strange. But
when did the penny drop for you that everybody watching the BBC wasn't actually watching you? They were watching what was happening in the background.
Yeah, I was able to see when the door opened. So, I remember that. Like, the door like creeped open. It's like, oh my god! And then like my daughter's little head poked through. You know, she's 3 and she's like wearing little glasses, and then I was like, oh my god, like my whole career just like blew up in my face, you know. And then like my son came in, and it was like, I mean, if you watch the video, when my son came in, I start laughing too, right? I mean, with my daughter, the first 30 seconds or so, I was trying to like keep a straight face and like push her behind the chair because I had some toys on the floor, you know. I was like, but then when my son came in, it was just like a circus, and so I'm laughing on the video. I could hear the producers over the line. They're laughing. The BBC producers.
Did you feel frozen as you saw it happening? Did you feel completely helpless?
Well, there wasn't anything I could do. I actually tried to sort of push through it and sort of maintain like a straight face.
Your desperate attempts to continue talking about serious international politics,
right.
Whilst you're, that's what for me makes it so incredibly funny.
I mean, I was trying, man. I was trying, you know. I don't like, what am I going to do?
When did you realize that this was far bigger than just an interview?
Probably about 2 hours after it happened. So we stepped out in the hallway and we were both like, oh my God, my career with BBC is over. No place is ever going to call me again. And then it started going viral. People tagged me on Twitter and they started retweeting the video. Like, all kinds of weird randos started tweeting it out and attaching my name. I'm like, who are you people? I don't know who these people are. People all over the world are clipping it. Like people in like Latin America and Africa and where I'm like, where did this anyway? So it starts going viral, and I could see it on Twitter, and the numbers going up and up and up and up. And so within like 2 hours, it went from being like the end of my pundit career to this global laugh riot where like everybody's commenting and whatever. And then like 2 hours after that, like I think the BBC knew that they had something huge, and they called us, and we talked to some like vice president or something. Somebody fairly high up in the organization hierarchy, because they were like, you know, we're going to use this. Can we use this? Can we talk about it? Whatever, because it's not like this big viral hit.
On a serious note, were you scared at any point? Because, of course, this did involve your children as well, and suddenly they're being viewed by millions of people globally.
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I mean, yeah, if you watch the news interview we did, the first interview we did after, we were pretty uptight and pretty nervous because our kids were really small, and we were very nervous about exposure. We didn't, like, leave our house for 4 days. I mean, we turned off our phones, we turned off the TV, because, like, literally, like we got, like, hundreds, thousands of phone calls and direct messages and text messages. People like went to my parents' home back in Ohio. Journalists like drove up onto their front lawn and were like peeking through the windows and everything. I mean, it was really, really weird. We were real nervous because the kids are really small. I mean, I don't care if people yell at me on Twitter. People yell at me on Twitter all the time because of what I do. But my wife is kind of a private person, you know, she's not doing what I do, and my kids were so young, and that was a little unnerving.
What about your kids going to school and that kind of thing?
My daughter was going to kindergarten, and because the thing went so viral and so crazy, the kindergarten actually had extra security for like 2 weeks.
It's interesting, you see, there's one side of this story that's obviously incredibly light and funny, and then behind the curtain of fame, there's always a slightly darker angle.
I want to be fair here. I mean, that was only that moment, and like no one's ever come to our house. Nobody's ever tried to ambush us. Nobody's ever sort of like come and like, you know, like try to kidnap our kids or something. I mean, I should be fair. It was weirder more than it was like dangerous or something. It was just very strange going from being like just one more person out there in the world to being like this celebrity like in like 6 hours.
Some people say that you set this up as a publicity stunt. Can you speak to those rumors?
Yeah, BBC Dad Truthers. That's what they're called, BBC Dad Truthers. Yeah, these people write to me all the time on Twitter. They send me direct messages and emails, and they're all like, you know, oh, you staged it, and you wanted to become famous, and you wanted to make money from it and stuff like that. And, you know, and also, I mean, if you watch the video, it's such a comedy of errors. I don't know how you would organize it. But yeah, there are people out there every year, the anniversary of the event, I think it's like March 17. Every year on March 17, the video sort of goes re-viral. And every year we get a wait. Yeah, it's true, dude. I'm telling you, man.
Do you guys do something to celebrate? Is there something that happens in the Kelly household to celebrate the anniversary of the famous moment?
Every year in March, I gain like 10,000 Twitter followers. And I get a wave of conspiracy emails telling me that, you know, we're fakers. And it's like, she's not really my wife, and my kids are actors. But we try to take it in stride. Because, I mean, basically, all of a sudden, a billion people in the world had opinions about me, and nobody knew anything about me or my family. And so people started shooting in all kinds of directions, saying all kinds of crazy stuff.
But if you could have your time back, would you have tried to change what happened, or are you happy it happened?
It's a really mixed bag. I mean, the big downside to the video isn't like harassment or threats or anything like that. The big downside to the video has been the loss of anonymity. We just couldn't like walk down the street or go into a movie theater or like a Walmart or whatever, you know, an airport and without people coming up and like people come up and be like, can I touch your kids? And I'd be like, no, actually you can't. If you do, I'm gonna like punch you. It's you know, that was very bizarre. But again, most of the time it was like old ladies were like, I saw your kids, they're so cute. And they went, you know, but it was just strange. And it's very strange going from being just one more person out there in the world to suddenly being like known, right? Because we're not celebrities, right? I imagine if you're like Tom Cruise, if you're like some actor, it's like you get used to it. Like you're photographed everywhere and it's just sort of how it is. And you got like paparazzi. I mean, I guess they know what that's like, but we're not really celebrities. It's not really what we wanted to do. You know, we haven't used the video to try to become celebrities, right? And we kind of came and went. And that's been very bizarre.
And our last question, Professor Kelly, is there now a lock on your door?
There is.
Can you show us how it works? we don't believe you. I want to see that lock.
You don't believe me?
Yeah.
Can we see you lock the door?
Man.
And it's
look at that. It's locked. It's locked. Well, Professor Kelly, please do keep your door locked on future Zooms. And thank you so much for talking to us. And thank you for coming on Dash into the Limelight. We'll see you soon.